Big figures like this tend to be out of my price range, but when this guy started showing up for $40, I told myself, I'm going to regret it if I don't pick one up. So, with the help of Shockwave 514, I acquired the infamous $40 Fort Max. We'll start in base mode, where you can already see the glaring issue with this toy. He's freaking massive. I really have nowhere good to put him that I can get everything in shot, especially in these types of modes where he's longer than he is tall. So you're just gonna have to bear with me. I'm gonna try to get the important stuff on camera. But here in base mode, he's a little bit different than what I expected. I was used to the G1 Fort Max, where it looked more like an actual city. It had a lot of upright, tower-looking features. It looked like buildings, skyscrapers, what have you. Here, the base mode's a little bit flatter. So, I mean, I'm not really sure if that's a problem. I guess that really depends on your definition of, does this look like a city or a base or whatever it's supposed to look like. He has these two, that's his legs, that just stick out either side of the base or the city. These guns are articulated, so you can move them, but that's just about all these do. He's got the tower up here, makes noises, specific noises to this mode. So just some shooty noises. Pow! Over here there's a little articulated little gun that actually you can remove it if you want. But then Emissary sits in there, the little headmaster sits in there and mans it here in base mode. You've got a bunch of these little flaps here that connect to other bases. If you had, you know, Blaster or Optimus or any of those guys, you could connect with these platforms here. And I think they're more on the back. I'd say I assume, but I can look and see. There are some on the back as well that just help link everything together. There's also one right here. So there's plenty of places where you can hook up the other Titan's Return base modes, I said with air quotes. But yeah, overall he's really nicely colored. There's something I really like about Fort Max's colors. So regardless, whatever mode we're in, the colors are going to be there. He's got the really nice kind of medium, almost dark blue. He's got the gray, he's got that red, he's got some silver paint, but most of his details are not paint. Most of his details are stickers. You get a massive sticker sheet that you have to apply. It probably took me about an hour to get all the stickers on this guy and get them on well. So most of the details you're going to see here, like these shiny arrows, all that is stickers. All the windows here, you know, there's a ton of stickers on him. But, you know, it helps, honestly. It's when you get him out of the box and there's not many stickers, it's kind of bland. But, you know, it helps. But also I kind of wish that it was paint details rather than stickers. But who knows? I'm not the budget guy at Hasbro. Your features here are pretty limited in base mode. It's more or less just something to stand other figures on or put your Titan Masters around. You know, it's just a display piece more than an actual functioning vehicle mode, which when you're a city bot, like, what can you do but be a display piece? And I think that's his whole point in being this big. But at the same time, it's still kind of disappointing that there aren't more features like the G1 version had. So that being said, it does have the capacity to do what it was designed to do. I count 16 Titan Master place points on the base mode that house the foot pegs of Titan Masters. So, like I said, I wish it had more to do here in base mode, but it does accomplish what it is designed to do. While we're here in base mode, I really want to make a note of mentioning that his legs open up, and they clamshell open, and they totally fold over themselves. So I'm going to try to get this to where you can see it a little bit better. There we go. That should work for now. So yeah, they totally like open up and fold over, and you can see ramps and all kinds of detail molded in here. And when his foot does this, a little gate opens and closes, and this is mentioned nowhere in the instructions. And even some of the base fan modes kind of halfway utilize this, but it makes me wonder, all this has a purpose. So was there an earlier design that had maybe some extra joints or something that caused these to be utilized in an actual base mode that had a little bit more function? But like I said, it's not mentioned anywhere in the instructions, and I've messed with this toy all over the place, and pretty much anything I could do to finagle it and get it to work to where, you know, you could open this up and get this to sit flush and be a ramp, and it's not designed to open up. So I literally have no idea what purpose this has. It has molded detail, it looks like it has a function, but in practice and in execution, it has no function whatsoever. And so some things like that really confuse me about these big toys. I don't know. So I just figured it was worth a mention. If you want to mess with it and you can get that to work and make a base mode with those panels going like that, more power to you. But for me, I noticed it right off the bat that the legs opened up, and it's kind of bothered me a little bit. Now on to his ship mode, and you'd think that with this being an actual vehicle form that his functionality would have increased, when in reality it's just reduced. There's really nowhere to stick Emissary in this ship configuration so that he is on the bridge or sitting in a cockpit or any of that stuff. So I've just stuck him standing up top up here. So there's that. You fold away his little gun emplacement. I suppose you could open this up and put him here, but the vehicle mode, definitely the instructions tell you to close that for sure. It's not like that's just something that's open to interpretation. They say to close that. The only thing that you do get is now there are a bunch of wheels underneath him, and so he can roll, which is good. But a lot of panels here are just kind of hanging, like this back here. There's a ramp back here, and his arms back here just kind of hanging there, and all of that does a really awesome job of dragging across every surface you put it on. So you got to be careful, and I haven't really played with this on carpet, but I can assume that rolling it on carpet is a nightmare. It's not very. You can just hear how heavy and how much is dragging when you try to roll this thing. So not a huge fan of this spaceship mode at all. Another big complaint for me is that the legs, they move together. There's joints in there that move the legs closer together. They shift and they collapse into each other, but they have no way of tabbing together at all, and I'm just not quite sure if there was a way to do it to begin with, or if they just were lazy and didn't. So regardless, the legs are just, I mean, the ratchets hold them together. You can see when I move, they definitely wiggle and you know, separate, and so it's just, there's a couple little design features to this spaceship mode that really doesn't work for me. Is it doesn't tab together, and there's really nowhere to put Emissary or any other Titan Master for that matter to make it look like they're piloting the ship. It doesn't even really feel like a ship to me. It just feels like a different type of base mode, a longer, skinnier battle platform. I mean, the guns are facing forward and you can't articulate them up to shoot at stuff. There's this little thing down here now which has been moved that is a little, you can't see that, is a little bit of a gun thing that you could put some Titan Masters on. But other than that, I mean, like I said, there's really nothing that makes this feel like a spaceship. It just feels like base version B. So, you know, not a huge fan of this mode. It's definitely my least favorite of the 3 modes for Fortress Maximus.
Let's face it, both of these alt modes are very weak.
Had I paid full price for them, I'd feel a bit ripped off. The whole point of a transformer is that it actually transforms. Fort Max transforms like, well, you did when you were a kid and you were pretending to be a transformer. Yeah, like that. But let's face it, I didn't buy this thing for the alt modes. I bought it for the robot mode. Okay, everything's a little bit easier to get framed in with with the big guy in robot mode. But before we go to full Fort Max robot, I want to talk about Cerebro. He is a very, very well done, nice looking robot. I mean, this is a good, chunky, deluxe sized figure, and you can see he's got some blue shoulders and some black detailing and this nice silver grill. He just looks really nice, and the head, man, the head on this thing, even though it is a Headmaster, I just think it looks clean, and I really like it. So the Autobot symbol is a sticker. I had to put that on there, but other than that, everything else is painted detail, and so overall, I think he looks very nice. He does have several sound effects, and I'm just going to run through them so you can hear them. Okay, so yeah, that's it. You get a lot of gunfire sounds, and one time where he says his name. He does not have his own little gun that he can use, but if you grab the, I'm just going to do it off camera, but grab the little gun that Emissary was sitting in the base mode, you can take it out and you can give it to Cerebro to hold there. So that's an option. And then if you want to get ridiculous, you can also grab one of Fort Max's leg guns, and this always scares me, but you can take these off. They're designed to come off, but they come off so rough. You can take this off, and underneath here a little handle flips out that has a, you can let him hold that. It's, like I said, it's very ridiculous, and it's too heavy, but it's funny that you can do it. So, he can hold that, and oh my goodness, I think that's funny. I do want to talk about his articulation real fast. With his head here, he gets a very nice side-to-side and a little bit of an up-and-down rock. Now, you are using the Titan Master's neck for that joint, and these panels right here in the way. Otherwise, you'd get full rotation. The shoulders rotate like this all the way around. There's a shoulder swivel, and he has a ball joint at the elbow with a cutout to the front, so you can get all kinds of motion. His legs are a little finicky because of the way he has to transform, but you do get a hip swing out to the side, rotation front and back. I'd make a transformation noise because I'm messing with it on the back, and I'm not supposed to be doing that. But it's really tight, your hip right here. You get a upper thigh rotation. You get a break his knee bend, which is just for transformation, but that's a very loose joint, so you're going to be messing with that anyway. You get a knee bend that goes around 90. Actually, that is pretty much 90. And his toes are articulated for transformation, but you can utilize that in ways if you're smart enough. So I think it kind of counts as an ankle joint. Here he is, the main event, Fortress Maximus in his robot mode, and this right here is why I bought this toy, was because of this mode. Needless to say, it's a gorgeous robot, and there's so many panels, so many details. I tried to capture a lot of it in the B-roll, but there's no way you can get the full idea of how detailed and how awesome he looks unless you've seen one in person. Yeah, I'm just blown away at how good this thing looks, and you know, it is a big toy, but all the detailing, all the panels and all that, all the sculpting makes it feel huge as well. So definitely a really big fan of Fort Max. Now, with a robot this size, you are not going to get a lot of posability, functionality out of him because he's so big and he's so heavy. So he's more or less a statue, but he is articulated and he does have features. So I'll try to walk through some of my favorites pretty quickly. So, I mean, you do have the option to have him use this gun here. You can open this up, and I suppose you could shove Titan Masters in there or whatnot, but you can have this gun mount, you know. So he's got all kinds of ports all over him where you can just arm this guy up. Whoops. You can just arm him to the teeth if you want. Give him all sorts of weapons. You can take the guns off his legs, and I'll do both of them this time. Once again, these are tough to get off. So you can take the guns off his legs, and when you fold the handle out, there's this little T slot looking thing in there, and you can actually get this in here around his thumb, and it slots in, and then he actually wraps his fingers kind of around the gun. So we can actually hold these, and it's much more of a secure connection than the little 3mm ports. So yeah, you can have him get a hold of these big old guns like that if you want. Since he didn't come with his Master Sword or anything, whatever it's called. Since he didn't come with that, you know, it's always nice to have some guns, but I like them on his legs because it just leaves this big vacant hole if they're not down there. So, but yeah, he does have some sound effects, and you get them by pushing this button. I've learned that if you push this button all the way in, you're going to pop the head off. And I have some problems with my head staying attached in here. Just the way they designed it is not a very solid connection, so I could see if you were playing with it especially rough or you played with it for a very long time that head would no longer stay on. But I don't have to worry about that because I try to take really good care of this thing, but I have noticed that it is in danger of getting stripped. But if you push on this a little bit, you get some noises. So yeah, I think that's it. They don't seem to be on a loop. They seem to be random, which is okay for me. But yeah, I think that's all the noises. So he gets a lot of gun noises. He says Autobot, Decepticon, Fortress Maximus. He has a lot of really vague things he says, but when he talks, his eyes light up, which is really cool. So overall, I think they did a pretty good job with the lights and sounds. It's not too overbearing, but they're there if you want them. Now let's talk about his articulation. He is big, so a lot of heavy ratchets. His head is on a swivel that is difficult to do. So you can turn his head like that, but it's, like I said, it's a very stiff joint. So it kind of has a little bump here in the middle, so you can never get it perfectly straight, but whatever. His arms are on ratchets going out and ratchets front and back. This arm actually is the arm that came separate. I don't know if you can remove it, but this arm did not come attached to him. I put it on there. But regardless, you can lift the arm and move this white panel. You can swing that independently of the arm if it's in your way. You get an elbow bend pretty much up to all the way flush with his shoulder, which is awesome. You get upper elbow rotation. It'll turn all the way around. Over here, it's the same story. There is a joint that is another reason I think this guy had some other modes or some other features that didn't make it to final production. You can untab this shoulder and swing it all the way over in front of him. So, like I said, I don't know what purpose. I mean, that's obviously a very heavy-duty joint. It was meant to be functional. Whatever. You get the same articulation over here on this arm, though, and you get a wrist swivel on both arms and a little bit of a come here. And you get some fully articulated fingers. The thumb swivels in and out, and all the fingers are individually jointed. Articulated fingers? You know what that means. He can flip the bird! I have no soul. I'm sorry I made the joke. Just don't click away. Just stick with me. I'm sorry. You get you get a waist rotation that is very heavily ratcheted. You get some hip rotation all the way front and back. You get some out to the side as well. You get some upper knee rotation, and you do get a full 90-degree knee bend. Fortress Maximus is definitely worth the $40 I paid for him, but I'd have a really hard time justifying the purchase at full retail. He doesn't really transform like at all, but he's huge, he's detailed, and he's beautiful to look at. Thanks for watching.